Picture this. You walk into class on a Tuesday morning like you always do. You take your usual seat, waiting for the professor to call roll. But then, your name never comes. The professor stares at you, confused. The entire room watches, as he says the words you never thought you'd hear. You're not on the roster. In the blink of an eye, your entire education gone. Your future erased. And the person who did it, sitting somewhere out there, smiling. This is the story of how a controlling, abusive boyfriend got exactly what he deserved, and how I pulled it off without ever throwing a single punch. If you've ever dreamed of seeing someone who hurt others get the perfect taste of karma, smash that like button and subscribe. Because today's story isn't just petty, it's devastating, and oh so satisfying. Back in the early 2000s, the days before smartphones, before social media ruled our lives, the internet felt new, exciting, full of possibilities. I was in junior college, juggling classes with a part-time job in the administration building. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. I'd just moved in with my girlfriend Lucy. We were broke students, scraping by with shared bills, cheap takeout, and late-night study sessions. But we had each other, and that made it enough. One night, Lucy told me she had invited a friend over from one of her classes, Sarah. When Sarah walked in, I blinked in surprise. We'd gone to high school together, not best friends, but familiar faces in the hallway. We clicked right away, her laugh, her easygoing nature. Before long, she was coming over regularly. We had dinners together, laughed over board games, watched movies sprawled out on mismatched furniture. Our apartment became her safe spot. But then came Jay, Sarah's boyfriend. The moment he walked through our door, the mood shifted. He carried an aura that made the room feel heavier. He was tall, stiff, his eyes darting like he was above everything. He barely spoke. When he did, it was curt, dismissive. He never laughed at our jokes. We invited him because it seemed rude not to, but after 2 or 3 awkward nights, he started refusing. Honestly, we were relieved. Without him, the fun came back. I thought that was the end of it. I had no idea the nightmare brewing in the shadows. It was a weeknight when Lucy's phone rang. Sarah's name lit up the screen. Her voice was shaking, frantic. "Can I come over? Please." Minutes later, she was at our apartment, eyes red, hands trembling. Through sobs, she explained, Jay had accused her of cheating. Not once, not twice, but a barrage of accusations. He didn't trust her. He didn't like how often she came to our place. Cheating? With me? With Lucy? Both? It didn't matter, the idea was absurd. But Jay's paranoia had turned into rage. He screamed at her, called her names, ugly, venomous words no one should ever hear. His voice dripped with control and contempt. And then, he crossed the line. When Sarah tried to leave, he shoved her. She stumbled backward, tripped over a coffee table, and crashed hard onto the floor. The bruise stretched across her hip and lower back, ugly, purple, painful. She tried to defend him. He didn't mean it. It was an accident. But I saw through the excuses. That's what victims often do, minimize, rationalize, because the truth is too heavy to carry. I sat there, fists clenching so tight my knuckles burned. My chest felt like it would explode. A reel played in my head, me storming to his place, pounding on his door, beating him senseless. But I wasn't a fighter. Violence wasn't me. Still, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This wasn't going to slide. At the time, my part-time job gave me something very few people had. Access. As a student employee in the administration office, I could view any students' records, class schedules, FEs, even their student ID. That Friday, the office was quiet. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the air as I sat at my desk, staring at the glowing screen of an ancient computer. The deadline for dropping or adding classes without penalty loomed just days away, and then it hit me. A thought so sharp it sent a shiver down my spine. What if Jay's classes just disappeared? My pulse quickened. My palms were sweaty against the keyboard. I typed his name, Jay. There it was, his entire academic life laid bare before me. His classes, his units, his ID number. My stomach flipped. Could I do this? Was it too far? Then I pictured Sarah's tear-streaked face, the bruise, her shaking voice. No, this wasn't too far. This was justice. On the very last day before the deadline, I made my move, not from my personal phone to risky. Instead, I picked up the dedicated enrollment phone in the admin office. One call, no digital trail. I gave his ID. One by one, I dropped every single class on his schedule. Click, gone. But why stop there? I scrolled through the course catalog, grinning as I added every class with an extra fee. Lab courses, studio art, technology classes. Anything that would rack up hundreds in costs, like lead weights on a drowning man. I piled them onto his record. And here's the beauty. At our school, unpaid FEs meant no transcripts, no records, no ability to transfer, no escape. And the final twist of the knife, Jay was a foreign student. Without enough credits, he couldn't legally stay in the country. I hung up, my heart pounding, a smile tugging at my lips. Revenge didn't have to be loud. Sometimes it could be precise, surgical, and completely devastating. The following Tuesday, Sarah walked into English class, dreading the thought of seeing Jay. Sure enough, he was there, but something was off. The class was crowded, students squeezed into every seat. Jay stood awkwardly in the back, no desk, no chair. The professor began roll call. One by one, names were read aloud, and then, silence. Jay raised his hand. You missed me. The professor frowned. What's your name? Jay last name, he said, irritation in his voice. The professor scanned the paper. You're not on the roster. Jay froze. His face turned crimson. He stammered, no. I am registered. Check again. The professor shook his head. If you're not here, you're not in this class. Take it up with administration. The room fell silent. Every student stared. Jay's jaw clenched. His eyes darted around, humiliated. He had no choice but to leave. Sarah told me later. That was the last time she ever saw him in that class. Weeks later, curiosity got the better of me. I pulled up his records one last time. All those fee-loaded classes dropped. His balance still outstanding. His schedule completely empty. Maybe he was kicked out. Maybe he left in shame. Maybe he was even forced to leave the country. I never found out for sure. And honestly, I didn't need to. What mattered was that Sarah never had to sit in the same classroom as him again. She was safe. She could breathe. I sometimes wonder if I went too far. Sure, but then I remember the look on her face that night, the tears, the bruise, the way her voice cracked with fear, and I realize justice doesn't always come with fists. Sometimes it comes with a keyboard, a phone, and the courage to act. That's the thing about revenge, it doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It hides in plain sight, undetectable, until the moment the hammer drops. Jay thought he could control her. He thought he could put his hands on her and walk away. Instead, he lost everything. And me? I learned that protecting the people you care about is worth everything, even if it means bending the rules. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying act of revenge you've ever seen? Don't forget to subscribe because I've got more stories coming that are just as sweet as this one.